Jason became the notorious bad boy of the mega hit MTV series and its spin-off The Hills, and skyrocketed to fame overnight. But he says that only fueled his struggles with mental health and addiction.
It created an identity that I was able to escape, because what you saw on television it was a character that was created, and I wanted to live by that, which was like the partying, out of control type of person. And so I fed into that, and that was really just a deflection from me really dealing with what I needed to deal with, which was myself.
How much of what we saw as quote-unquote Jason was the true Jason?
You got to see 100% of the real side of somebody that was really sick. You got to see somebody who's really struggling.
Over the next few years, Jason was arrested numerous times, did several stints in rehab, and even tried to take his own life. But it was something that happened after becoming sober in 2010 that changed everything.
What would you consider your lowest point?
I had 5 years of sobriety and ended up relapsing on Adderall. Ended up going down a spiraling on and off for 2.5, 3 years. That landed me at the first floor at Hoag Hospital while my wife was giving birth on the 3rd floor with my daughter. And so to not be able to be present or in the moment, to remember one of the greatest memories or moments of your life is something that I've forgiven myself, but it's really hard.
Jason, now sober for nearly 4 years, has moved out of Orange County with his wife and 2 kids, and says he's finally taken back control of his life.
When you look back at that young kid on these shows, what would you say to him now?
It's going to be okay. There's a way out. There's solutions. There's an opportunity to be able to talk about it and share that, and you're not alone. And there's hope all around you.
Hi guys, I am Jason Wahler. I will be hosting today's panel. I'd like to take a moment to welcome everybody. Thank you so much for joining us to discuss the future of alcohol monitoring, touch-based detection with SOBRsafe. We will be doing a Q&A at the end, so please make sure to submit your questions through the chat. As you guys could see just in that simple video, addiction and alcoholism destroyed my life. And that's why I'm ecstatic to be a part of an innovative company making a difference when it comes to alcohol monitoring. This is a fantastic tool and resource for those that are struggling. So with me, we got Matt Mitchell, Keenen Diamond, and Wendy Stine. Matt, let's start with you. Matt is the Director of Partnerships for SOBRsafe and a noted subject matter expert on transdermal alcohol detection. Matt was previously in senior leadership role for over a decade with Scram Systems, the world's #1 provider of transdermal ankle bracelets. Matt, could you lead things off by explaining the science behind transdermal detection?
Absolutely. Jason, thanks for sharing your meaningful personal story of sustained recovery and resilience. It's important for you to share that story with everyone, and we're grateful to have you here. I'm going to go ahead and share a couple slides here that will help our viewer audience understand some of the concepts here that are going to tie into the rest of today's conversation. So we'll just start with a high-level conversation about alcohol metabolism in the body. We know you have to consume alcohol for your body to begin the process of absorbing that into your bloodstream and then eliminating that alcohol through a variety of different routes. So your liver, as we know, does most of the heavy lifting here. Your breath expels alcohol, and that's important to understand in terms of how that is released from your body. And I think one of the most understood or misunderstood concepts is around transdermal. Your skin excretes approximately 1% of that ethanol that's ingested into your body through the dermal layer. And that's something that we'll be talking more about in terms of the science and in terms of how that's translated into the technology that SOBRsafe has deployed. So noting those differences in the body and how the body processes alcohol also relates to the different methodologies for which individuals are tested. You can probably think about urine screens for alcohol or breath testing devices. We'll be focused today on transdermal through the skin alcohol detection technology.
Fantastic.
Okay, let me move to the next slide here. 1 second. Well, we'll actually just jump into a further discussion around through the skin or sweat technology. So here's what research has said. It dates back about 90 years. And scientific research has validated the concept of transdermal ethanol transport. So it's not new science, right? It's new technology. And that's important to understand. Ethanol is excreted through the skin in the form of sensible and insensible sweat, right? We're all familiar with sweat, perspiration, liquid form. There's that insensible vapor that also is excreted through the skin. You can probably think of some not so nice terms that we might have used, like you smell like a brewery, you're a stinking drunk. There might also be some of our audience that have used other products like a seasickness patch or a nicotine patch. These are other examples of transdermal through the skin transport.
So real quick, before you move on, I find that absolutely fascinating. So just for example, so when you smell alcohol on someone, maybe the morning after a big night, right? It's not a question of just distinguishing the smell with mouthwash or something. Literally the entire surface of the body can be emitting alcohol. Is my understanding that correctly?
Yeah, absolutely, Jason. That's transdermal at its finest right there.
Okay.
Well, to talk a little bit about SOBRsafe technology, one just to share with you really our mission and our vision. Surety through dignity, right? Surety through dignity. Our clients need proof of abstinence, and that's surety. Our clients need their work to be sober, to be acknowledged and valued, and that's dignity. And we think those are really important mantras here at SOBRsafe. Our mission is through next generation alcohol detection technology, we enable trust and empower recovery with a human touch. And I think that that's important. It sets the stage for what we're gonna talk about and from who we're going to hear from about how our technology is currently deployed. So I'll just run through real quick. SOBRcheck is the leading technology for passive preventative alcohol screening, ideal for client check-in and out and facility access control. This product takes an alcohol screen within 10 seconds. It's super fast. It's highly accurate. It's hygienic. It's connected to the internet. So we've got different forms of notification that come out of it. And this truly is cutting edge next gen tech right here. The other product that you'll hear about today is SOBRsure. SOBRsure is our innovative continuous monitoring, alcohol monitoring solution. It's compelling because it's not ankle worn, it's not secure, it's not punitive. It's for volunteers and for other forms of mandated monitoring. We say, just wear and live life, right? It's easy. And then finally, you'll also be hearing a bit about our mobile monitoring products. Our user-facing and administrative apps allow real-time information sharing. These key features include alcohol consumption indicators, device connectivity, and user wearability statuses. So these all kind of tie in together in terms of changing the paradigm for alcohol monitoring. So at a high level, I'm going to turn things back over to Jason here, and we look forward to hearing from our next set of presenters.
Thank you very much, Matt. Really appreciate that. Do we have Keenen on here, or is Keenen not on here? I don't think Keenen is here. Well, thank you very much,
Yeah,
Matt.
we're having a technical issue there. If you could start with Wendy, Jason, that would be great.
Yeah, not a problem. Well, thank you very much, Matt. What a great overview on the transdermal concept and just how SOBRsafe is taking, its application well beyond what we typically consider in a mandatory ankle bracelet. So with that being said, Wendy, obviously really appreciate you being here. How are you? We really are excited that you are here. And so let me get in here real quick. So Wendy Stine is an accomplished addiction therapist, interventionist, and coach. Wendy, as someone who has been in the industry for nearly 20 years, can you tell us what your initial reaction was when you heard about this technology and where in your world you think it could have the greatest impact?
Sure, absolutely. Thank you, Jason. And first of all, I'm grateful to be here today with these esteemed panel members that I also call friends. And I was pretty psyched to hear about the technology. And people that know me know I'm not a technology wizard by any stretch of the mean. I love my Fitbit. That's about all I can do. And when I heard about the SOBRsafe equipment, especially the wearables, SOBRsure, I thought, what a great idea for my clients and family members, because it beats, a UA or a BA. My mission as a therapist is certainly to treat families and the client with dignity and respect. As a recovering person also, when I was newly sober, I had a lot of shame, and the process of UAs and BAs doing breathalyzers in front of my children, it's pretty dehumanizing, and I was already feeling low. So if I can offer my clients a way to be tested and monitored, that is very discreet, very dignified, and with zero shame involved, I'm all for it. I am absolutely all for it. And, I work with families, and if there's some marriage issues and a spouse is worried about another sobriety before seeing the children, they just have to check in on the app. They don't have to say, go down to, the lab, get a UA, bring me the results, and, I'm going to shame you in front of the children. It's very, very discreet. And I just think, why haven't we thought of this sooner? Why is our field that prides itself on dignity? This is kind of the last piece, right? There's nothing less dignified than blowing into a breathalyzer, going into group or in front of your family. So I was very excited about the technology. And it was like a no-brainer. So I am for anything that eliminates shame and stigma in our field. Sadly, so many people, there's still a stigma about people that have substance use disorder. And we know it's a disease. So let's do everything we can to eliminate any kind of shame and, less dignified approaches to treatment and monitoring. So to say I was excited is an understatement.
I love that. As we know, addiction is primary, it's chronic, it's progressive, and it's fatal if it's untreated, right? And something that's very serious. What has been your general response when you've introduced this to your clients?
Also, this equally excited and a no-brainer. Many are shocked to learn that it's brand new, technology. I have yet to find a client that wasn't excited to get their product, to get their SOBRsure, because they can wear it and no one knows, that they're being monitored. Family members, employers don't know. So families are very excited, and they feel a sense of safety and security as well. Particularly spouses or significant others. They're not having to worry, did he drink in between tests? Did he take a masking agent? I mean, it's foolproof technology, and that just brings a peace of mind to a family that has had no peace of mind often for years. So it just is that added level of safety and security. So I pretty much insist all my clients participate in this because it is just easy to access the portal, easy for everyone to understand. So I'm a big fan.
Oh, I love that. I have a question. So what has been the number one takeaway that you've seen as a therapist interacting with individuals? What's been the biggest takeaway that you've seen with the band?
Self-esteem. Definitely a rise in the self-esteem, people not feeling like criminals, feeling like they're being, I think Matt used the word punitive. So clients don't feel they're being punished by being monitored. It's just that extra level of safety. And most clients actually are really relieved because they feel like they can show that they are sober and they
Yeah.
don't have to blow in a tube to show it. It's just, it's a given. And many clients are kind of happy to have that little backup, you know.
Can you actually can you talk a little bit too about like the transition component, right? So after people, especially when people go into detox residential, you know, they go into PHP, IOP, and that's where they transition back into their natural stressors being life. Can you talk about the importance of when this band would come into play?
Sure. Transitions are often tricky for us recovering people, as that's kind of when the walls come down and we're not sure, you know, what's going on. And I remember getting out of treatment. I mean, I struggled going to the grocery store. Just basic tasks really freaked me out. And I think had I had a wearable device, I would have felt a lot more safe, like knowing that, well, I'm not going to drink because I'm being monitored all the time. It would have given me a level of safety. And those transitional points when you go from a higher level of care to, you know, minimal, that's when monitoring really is necessary. We don't need to be monitored when we're in residential treatment, because we're in residential treatment. We're being watched by nurses, doctors, therapists, techs. But when we start to level down, that is when we need more monitoring, more security. Families need a little more guarantee that things are going in the right direction. So it's ideal for those transition spots, not just personally for the addict, but for the family. So in the treatment center can have access to the information if that's part of the treatment plan too. So it really allows an integrated approach from all the teams.
No, I love that. And I think it allows people, you know, there's a statistic out there. If you get 1 year of sobriety, you have an 85% chance of hitting 5 years. And so being able to utilize this technology to help reinsure and reinforce that, it's a great tool and resource. Again, is getting that 1 year of sobriety is imperative.
I would wholeheartedly agree. I would say it's the only time in an alcoholic's life where more is better, more support.
Yeah.
You know, it's the only more is better, more support. You know, that first year, that first 90 days, critical, and new habits, new thinking, new way of living. So you are right, Jason. It's that first year is the doozy.
Yeah. Well, Wendy, thank you so much for your perspective. I know we're going to be coming back to you, and I see that our dear friend Keenen has hopped on. Thank you so much for joining us, Keenen. We appreciate you. So, hey, after we had an amazing conversation with Matt, giving the breakdown of transdermal technology and the detection behind it, you know, one of the things we wanted to talk about is, you know, how this transformative technology is being best put to use. So for that, obviously, we're going to be turning to you, Keenen, who is a very dear friend of mine. He's also the president and COO of Oceanfront Recovery in Laguna Beach. And as I understand it, Keenen, correct me if I'm wrong, but Oceanfront was actually the first behavioral health adopter of SOBRsafe's products, SOBRcheck and SOBRsure. Is that correct?
Yes, proudly.
I love that. Can you please share with us your initial reaction to the technology, your experience in practice, and where you see it going in the greater industry?
Absolutely. So before we brought it on at Oceanfront, when I first became aware of the technology, I came across SOBRsafe, the organization, and the technology they had as they were operating in other verticals. And I asked the question, you know, are you in our space? And it was in process and happening. And I said, we need this. I want this. Historic measures of alcohol in the system being breath, urinalysis testing. There's complications with all of it. And I've yearned for years for a way to passively and accurately monitor for the presence of alcohol for all of our clients. And this technology was that solution. At the time, I didn't know exactly how it would look or what we would do, or how we could use touch-based alcohol sensing to achieve the goals I had, but that became clear as I got to know the products. And the stationary product with the biometric scanning has turned into a replacement for checking in, you know, on pad and paper with a breathalyzer as you come into the IOP setting. So not only do you have a discoverable, trackable record of attendance, but you also have a verified, no alcohol in the system. Great for a couple reasons. A pain point we had was, as an operator, was always questioning, is everyone writing down on paper exactly what's happening, and is everything getting done like it should be? Policy and procedure can say breathalyze upon entry, and a piece of paper can be handwritten that has a date, time, and a check mark, but I couldn't look at it as an operator through an online platform and have some sort of, feeling of security that was 100% accurate. So that accomplished that goal. It verified abstinence from alcohol in the system upon entering the clinical building. It acted as a roster for us. We then moved that same concept into our nursing station. So historically, we breathalyze at med time, but we adopted the SOBRtech technology for those applications, which not only replaced the breathalyzer. So, I'm always looking for ways to reduce airborne pathogens, especially coming out of COVID in 2020. The less people are blowing on each other and breathing on each other in close quarters and medical settings like we have is a positive. Breathalyzers also require new tips every use, and they only last for so long, and they're historically inaccurate or break down. So we had problems with our breathalyzing situation. I also wanted to be able to verify that the right patient was sitting at the med station at the right time. Again, captured in the medical record, pretty accurate, but now I have them biometrically placed at that computer, as well as capturing what the nurse is doing. So it's given us an opportunity to improve the experience for the client, make and hold our staff accountable to our policies and procedures, and give me as an operator the confidence that what we say we do, we're doing, and ensuring an alcohol-free environment for our clients. That morphed into our adoption of the SOBRsure bands for all of our monitoring clients. So we've had 5 clients go on monitoring with the bands, and it's been incredibly successful. Not only has it been, I would say, a higher level of engagement than we had on other products, whether that was SoberLink or it was coming to the office to physically breathalyze daily. People have these bands on all day. It has allowed us to track the patients, keep better eye on them, integrate data into our electronic medical record, have real data about what's going on. But we've also discovered that the aspect that was unanticipated was how wearing your device 24 hours a day really changes psychologically the relapse mindset. So with other methods, you may have to test in the future. You may get called on SoberLink later today. You may get called into your testing site tomorrow morning, but right now, nothing's going to happen. And what we've discovered with the band is that you have to look at your wrist and make a conscious decision in that moment. Am I going to remove it and get caught? Am I going to drink and get caught? Or what am I going to do? And we found that has been an intervention in and of its own and has empowered the clients. There's been countless other advantages that have come up. People love how you can't tell what's on your wrist. They feel empowered. They don't feel stigmatized. They don't feel any shame about, breathalyzing when they walk into a building. And it's been wild. We knew the technology was a great idea because there's faults with breath, blood, and urine. It also doesn't necessarily align with our goals and I think overall treatment goals of treating clients with dignity, and making this a more humane process and less policing and punishing. But the technology in and of itself has had so many positive affects in our community that we weren't anticipating. So it's been an incredible experience. I'm excited to see what else we come up with and how it changes and morphs over time. But that's what we're doing right now, using bands and using the sober checks.
What has been the again, that's all amazing insight and so informative to the whole piece of it. What has been the biggest piece for you that has helped simplify the process?
Well, for me as an operator, it's insight. Again, I can look in the portal and see if everyone showed up to group today. I can, if I get a an audit on a client record. I can prove the client was physically in the building. I can make sure people are doing their jobs because I don't have to rely on that paper trail of a breathalyzer being completed. So peace of mind has been efficient. Check-ins have been incredibly efficient because we no longer have to have someone meeting people at the door, and breathalyzing and marking their attendance. You just scan when you walk through the door. And then on the bands, it's opened up a whole new component for us in our monitoring, because SOBRlink and some other products out there have been cost prohibitive for a handful of our clients. We're in network with most providers. We treat people, who utilize their insurance for their care and don't have a lot of extra resources when they're completing their care. So it's created an accessibility to ongoing monitoring that's been really a value add for us as an organization to try to continue to support long-term sobriety, even though we're only a small part of the continuum. But it's also been incredible for the families and the patients that have been able to access something of that quality for that price. So that's been a big change, is just how much it mattered that this had some price sensitivity for people coming out of an insurance-based program.
Fantastic. So another question for you is, if a person, were to put his or her, SOBRsure on another person, let's say to game the system or cheat the system, will the technology detect this?
So, we've done, with good addict minds, we've tested and tried and prodded everything. There's a possibility to do it. It's incredibly difficult. You'd have to have someone walk basically next to you for the entire time that they have it on, so they remain connectivity with your other devices and with the system. And what's very hard to do is get it right the first time. And those alerts disconnect from your phone or disconnect from your wrist are going to go to your case manager or whomever your accountability person is, which makes it very hard to get away with. Is it theoretically possible? Yeah. But so is, beating a breathalyzer or any other test or urinalysis. So there's a portion of people out there that'll figure out a way around almost anything we throw at them. But for 90% of our clients, I would say that it's got all the safety protocols it needs to avoid any issues.
I love that. So I got a question for either Wendy or you, Keenen. Outside of the treatment realm and stuff, let's talk about, for the younger, let's call it adolescents, people that are not of drinking age, how can this band be beneficial? That's something that I'm very excited about. Maybe Wendy, do you want to talk about that?
Well, what I like about the wearable for the adolescent is it also has a GPS on it. And it allows families some measure of knowing maybe where their adolescent is versus where they're saying they are at a certain time, and who they're with. If they are in fact consuming alcohol, the family would get an alert fairly quickly. And I think that it can head off a lot of problems that, had the wearable not been being utilized, a family member might not notice for a while that their adolescent has been drinking. And so this can nip some big problems in the bud, so to speak. And it can tell the family, give them quite a bit of information. So for me, that's what I like. Keenen, you might have different viewpoint.
I think there's multiple answers to that question. In my professional capacity, I think GPS and alcohol monitoring is an incredibly important component of adolescent treatment, especially any open campus model adolescent treatment. Even if you're a primary substance use disorder of something else, alcohol tends to be the number one used substance at any time during the course of a treatment, especially so in an adolescent setting. So just to have that insight into what's going on, 24-hour view into what's going on, it's fantastic. But take my professional hat off, and I am the father of twins who are seniors in high school. And, I've seen it, I've actually used it, where it's a safety measure for the family, you know, on the weekends or the night of a big party. And how you operate your family unit is entirely up to you. But whether, you know, you have an abstinence agreement with your kids, or you have a if you drink, don't drive agreement with your kids, you're able to monitor both of those things and just ensure safety and minimize risk. And again, without it being overly intrusive, you're not forcing a breathalyzer when you get home. You're not poking and prodding and pushing, you know, your kids to do something and hide it from you. You're just wearing a band that looks like a Fitbit, and it's giving everybody reassurance that, you know, whatever your beliefs are, your rules are as a family, that you can operate within those, which in turn builds trust and comfort
Absolutely.
within the family. So it's got, again, some really positive non-policing outcomes. You know, you can show your kid that they can stay out a little later, they can go to the party that maybe you don't want them at, but you trust them to do it. Just be safe and pop this thing on, and then we trust you to make the right decisions. As long
It's
as
the
you're
transparency, right? You know, that's what you're saying. I like that transparency. So it also models that good behavior to your child. Like, hey, we're transparent here. There's
Yes.
no judgment.
And I
There's
think,
data.
Jay, if I look back at, you know, obviously we go back a long time, over a decade, in working in this field on and off together. But if I look at your advocacy work and I look at, you know, what the future really holds for, I believe, substance use, alcohol use disorder, and dealing with the pervasive nature of drug and alcohol problems in the country. I mean, ultimately, we have to take it out of the shadows, right? It has to stop being a good thing or a bad thing, and it just has to become a relationship. And what do your relationships look like with these substances, right? And if you can have passive, empowering, non-shaming, non-judgmental, non-police-based tools to help maintain trust that allows for more transparency around something like alcohol, I think you can start moving in the right direction of early development of a healthy relationship with that substance, right? I think because we try to hide it so much, that leads to more of the binge drinking and more of the
Good
experimental.
point.
And I think that that's a huge part of what I like about everything going on, you know, with SOBRsafe, is that it's not a mechanism to catch people, right? I look at it in our uses at Oceanfront, especially with the band, as a behavior modification tool. It's another tool in our quiver of how we treat people who have substance use disorder. It's not just a device that's going to get you in trouble if you drink. It's a tool. And that's been true in our use cases so far, however limited they may be.
Yeah. No, it's absolutely fantastic, you guys. And I mean, Wendy, Matt, Keenen, I just appreciate your guys' perspective, your overview, super insightful, add a lot of value to this. But before we conclude, and I want to thank everybody else for joining us. Obviously, we're very grateful that you're here. But before we launch into some Q&As, you know, we'd like to leave you with a bit more of my personal recovery story to show you how this has impacted my family and how SOBRsafe's technology could have made a huge difference in our lives. Even though it makes a huge difference for us now, you know, I'm an active continuous wearer. I still got it on today of the SOBRsure wristband. So here, I'm going to show you guys this video, take a look, and then we'll come back for Q&A. Please submit your questions in the Q&A. What up, guys? Here again, talking about SOBRsure, and I wanted to bring my wife on because this is obviously a great accountability tool for somebody that's in early recovery, but I also was thinking of, you know, getting the perspective of somebody that has a loved one who struggles with addiction, specifically alcoholism, and how that could be helpful. So Ashley, obviously you walked through the early stages of me getting sober again. So how could this, you know, band ensure a different outlook?
I think, like, for one, you put the nail on the head with having children, to make sure that, like, safety is the #1 priority. So having somebody say that they're accountable is one thing, but, like, being able to show actions is the way that you heal trust with one another. So I think it would be very beneficial for especially a spouse to help rebuild that trust sooner by having some sort of, like, accountability bracelet where, not that you're wanting to track your spouse, but it creates, like, this very safe space for each of you, where you're being accountable, I'm being able to see, like, okay, my husband's telling me that he's doing this, he is doing this. he's driving, the kids are safe, he's in a car, he's sober. So I think that that would just help a lot of, I think it would heal time, you know, it would help heal relationships a little bit sooner.
Fantastic. A little personal touch on there. So we're going to jump into some questions now. So Keenen, Matt, Wendy, please chime in. I'm going to start going through some of the questions we got here. Okay, so if a person put his or her sober on another person, okay, so we already answered that one. Is it possible for this technology to detect substances other than alcohol?
No, I'll take that one. At this time, we are just strictly an ethanol alcohol detection technology platform.
Okay. What about the time required to charge SOBRsafe? Would the individual be able to drink and not be found to be drinking after 4+ hours? Like, so how long is the charging time? And then while the band is off, when they put it back on, would they be able to be detected?
I can jump in there again from a technical side. The device takes about 12 hours to charge, so that's kind of the precondition before you put the device on. It will then take another period of time to learn the wearer's body. So I think the thing about transdermal, right, is that there's a delay when somebody starts to drink alcohol. It takes a little while for that alcohol to work its way out of your system, about 20 minutes with our technology. Other technologies, it takes 40 to 60 minutes. So we've got some early detection capability. But the other concept on transdermal, which I didn't go into depth about, is that it takes, sometimes 8 to 10 hours for all that alcohol to eliminate from your body transdermally. It's slower, longer. It's kind of the way that some people kind of cook their barbecue, or it just is a low, slow elimination. So that would give us some visibility into somebody that's drinking within the first couple hours of wearing the band.
Fantastic.
So, Jay, we've seen it with in a monitoring case, and it under an hour to recharge. If someone keeps it off for a couple hours, you obviously have the removal alert. You're keeping an eye on it. If you see it go back on, the one time we have any evidence on this, it immediately tested positive upon returning to the wrist after a 3-hour break, or someone had a drink or two in that window.
How many drinks would it take to equal the 0.02 threshold that it has?
Well, I could probably comment that, as admittedly, I'm not in recovery at the moment, so I've done some product testing with it. For me, I'm a fairly average size male, 6 foot tall, about 190 pounds, and beer and a half of like a microbrewery for me will set off my device. So for me, compared to the other technologies that I've worn and worked, its extremely early detection capabilities are a huge advantage to families and wearers and users of the technology.
So, I mean, obviously it's going to depend on the person's, size, height, weight.
Sure. Absolutely.
It's going to be different for every single individual, but it's a low threshold. Okay, so I saw it mentioned on Matthew's slide, but how large is the SOBRsafe band on the wrist? It's obvious that it's some kind of monitoring system, or is it obvious that it's some kind of monitoring system? As somebody that has it on, I don't know if you can see this in here. I think there you go, Matt. It's literally the same size as a Fitbit. I mean, I've had more people ask me if it's a Fitbit, and it is comfortable. I don't even realize it's on. To be honest with you, it's very light, but it is something that is very comfortable.
Yeah, I've been wearing for 6 months and no one's ever noticed. I was actually at a industry leadership summit and I had it on for 4 days, and then I told people on the 5th day, and they were all like they were in disbelief that it was what it was. No one in the last 6 months has ever asked me what that is on my wrist. They just assume it's a Fitbit or some other activity monitor.
Yeah, this is a good question. How many family members can I have on my account wearing the band?
Yeah, as an administrator, right, we've got two views. One is the user view, the other is an administrative view. You can have as many family members as you like wearing the band. So if the parents wanted 3 or 4 of their children or 3 or 4 of their other loved ones, that certainly is feasible. We have some use cases where you can have up to 20, 25 different users through one administrative portal, but it's a robust system that allows scalability.
Fantastic. Has this technology been used with any judicial cases yet as evidence? How law enforcement responds to this technology?
Yeah, we are not specifically marketing into the justice space. I think that day will come where there should be some requests for court validation, but in the voluntary segments that we're releasing the products, that's not something that we've encountered that request yet.
Okay. What is the setup and use like for a sober check device? I have a company with about 80 employees who are in and out quickly.
Yeah, super easy. Keenen can probably talk about what that looks like in his group with your IOP program. If you want to offer some comments, Keenen, I can also add some other flavor too.
Keenen, you're muted. You're still muted.
All right. Yeah, I'll
There
there
we
you
go.
go. Keenen.
Sorry. This initial setup is about 30 seconds for us, for people. It involves, correct me if I'm wrong, Matt, but 3 scans of the finger. So basically you throw the name in and then they scan 3 times, they're set up. After that part's done, you just walk in and you put your hand on the device, and somewhere between 8 and 10 seconds, it completes the scan and sends the information to the portal, as well as alerting via light on the device. That's been my experience.
Yeah, enrollment, and we've got support services behind the scenes that can help enroll profiles. It does take 6 seconds, 6 to 10 seconds to enroll, and 10 seconds to scan. So with a little bit of work with coordination with the IT department, we can have you up and running in 24, 48 hours.
Very, very quick. Once charged, how long can you wear it before another charge is needed?
Great question. Do you want to take that, Jason, or?
I'll let you take that.
Okay, yeah, I'm getting 4.5 days out of my band with approximately half-hour charge rate. So I'll take it off, when it gets down to, it'll give you a low battery status. So when I get down to about 10%, and I'm jumping in the shower, I'll just pop it on the charger. I'm ready to go by the time I'm done and dressed.
And the admin can see the battery life too in the admin portal. So that helps you keep an eye on whomever you have using it to remind them to charge if needed.
Good question. Will it pick up alcohol vapor in the air?
Yeah, I mean, we're alcohol is alcohol. So I think our secret sauce is in being able to distinguish between environmental source of alcohol and that human emission. They've got different signatures and footprints, and that's what the secret sauce is all about. So
Jay, it will, if you put hand sanitizer on, it happens occasionally when I start my motorcycle in a garage. You'll get a brief positive, but the system can rule that out from a non-drinking event because it recalibrates and rereads so frequently. You're only going to have 1 spike, maybe 2 spikes in an event like that. Whereas a drinking event's going to look more like a long bell curve where you're going to build up in your blood alcohol and then it's going to slowly go down. So it's very easy for both the system and the administrator to rule out any environmental exposure that could occur because it, like Matt said, it doesn't mimic a drinking event in the data.
Okay, fantastic. You guys, we're running out of time here. I mean, we got a ton more questions that have come in. We promise that they will be answered directly as they have come in. Again, Wendy, Matt, and Keenen, really appreciate you guys coming on here and taking the time to provide your experience, the overview, and how it's impacted and worked for the people that you come into contact with. So again, we really appreciate your time and attention. If you have any other questions on the company, please direct those to info@SOBRsafe.com. That's info@SOBRsafe.com. Those will go right to Justin Davis. He is the VP of Corporate Relations. So those questions will get answered by him. And again, thank you guys very much, and we hope you have a wonderful day.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jason.
Thank you, Jason.